Okay, class, we have one more set of notes on scientific notation. This is your day 8 notes now. Okay, so let's keep doing some calculations. Still, we're going to do multiplication and division with scientific notation. So this question says, if the weight of an object in tons is 3.4 times 10 to the 4th, what would the weight be in pounds? And we know that 1 ton is equal to 2,000 pounds. So I'm going from tons to pounds, okay? There's going to be a lot more pounds, right, in every ton. So what I want to do is I want to take the weight in tons, so 3.4 times 10 to the 4th. I want to take that and I want to multiply it by how many pounds are in a ton to figure out how many pounds this is going to be. So I'm going to take that times 2,000. Okay, so what I have here is I have a number in scientific notation times a number in standard form. Okay, so first I'm going to write this number in parentheses just so I can see that's the number in scientific notation. But I want to change this one to also be in scientific notation because we're going to do all of our calculations in scientific notation. So I'm going to keep this 3.4 times 10 to the 4th, that one's already in scientific notation, times, let's see, and then to make that scientific notation, I would take the 2, right? 2 is between 1 and 10, times 10 to the, well, let's see, it just moved over 1, 2, 3 spots to make a 2. All right, so I'm taking the tons multiplied by the pounds, and that'll tell me how many tons are in a pound. Or sorry, how many pounds are in each, all these tons. All right, so when I do this, just like I did yesterday when we were comparing numbers, when we were dividing them, this time we're multiplying them. We're gonna look at the regular old numbers, and we're gonna look at our exponents, okay? So when I just look at the two numbers here, the 3.4 and the 2, those are just plain old numbers. I can multiply things in any order, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply those two numbers. So 3.4 times 2 just makes 6.8. All right? Then my numbers, my exponents here, I have a rule that we learned with exponents. When we're multiplying and these have the same base, all we're going to do then is add those exponents together. So I've got 4 plus 3, which would make 7. Okay, so then I have 6.8 times 10 to the 7th power. So I multiplied the coefficients, I added my exponents because it was a multiplication. And then there's my answer, and that is in pounds. Okay, so that is how many pounds is equivalent to this number of tons. Okay, so now we are just going to practice. Let me clear this up a little bit, it's a little blurry. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to practice more questions like that. This one, which is like what we did, and then some division ones, which are similar to what we did yesterday. So we have 2.0 times 10 to the 3rd times 2.6 times 10 to the 6th. Okay, so again, I'm going to look at my plain old numbers, the 2.0 and the 2.6. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply those. So 2 times 2.6, and that would make 5.2. All right, and then my exponents, since I'm multiplying, I just go ahead then and add my exponents. 10 to the 3rd plus 10 to the 6th makes 10 to the 9th power. Okay, and then that's my answer. Now, one thing I forgot to mention up here, we want to double check when we get our answer. We want to make sure that this is actually scientific notation. Remember, this number is supposed to be between 1 and 10, which 5.2 is, as was the 6.8. So those are perfectly fine. So that would be my answer. Okay, now if it's not between 1 and 10, we'll make some adjustments, and I'll show you how to do that as we get to those questions. Okay, now we have a division problem. So we have this divided by this number, which again, notice we've got scientific notation, we got standard form. So we want to make this in scientific notation. So I'm just going to write it right here. So I've got 3.01, okay, that makes this number between 1 and 10, times 10 to the, well, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots over to make that 3.01. All right, so I'm taking this one divided by this one, okay? And I'm going to rewrite it over here. I'm going to write it as a division where one's on top of the other. So I got 4.10 times 10 to the 11th divided by 3.01 times 10 to the 8th. Okay, so now we're dividing them. So again, we can treat the coefficients separately from my exponents. So I've got these two numbers that I want to divide. Okay, so I'm going to need my calculator for that one. Well, let's see. So I got 4.1 divided by 3.01. Okay, get a long decimal on this one. Okay, so I'm going to round that to just about 1.4. Times then, and then with my exponents, again, remember if we're dividing, we subtract the exponents. So 11 take away 8 would make 10 to the third power. Okay, check my answer. Is this scientific notation? It sure is. This is between 1 and 10, so we're good. All right, a few more practice now. Here we have now another multiplication problem similar to number 1. So again, multiply our two coefficients. We got the 4 times the 3.5. So let's do that. 4 times 3.5 would make 14. Times then we have 10 to the second and 10 to the third, and we want to add those together, right? With multiplication we add exponents, with division we subtract. Okay, so 10 to the second plus 10 to the third would make 10 to the fifth. Okay, rewrite that. Okay, now, little scenario on this one. Notice, when I look at this, this actually is not in scientific notation. Let's look at the 14. That is not between 1 and 10. So I have to fix it a little bit. Okay, so to fix it, all it takes is moving my decimal one little spat over. So yes, what 14 is not between 1 and 10, but if I make it 1.4, then it is between 1 and 10. Notice all I did was move my decimal one spot over to fix that. Okay, now if I change this number, I'm going to have to change this. Okay, so here's what I want to think about. If I make this number smaller, to compensate for that, I have to make my exponent bigger. So I would go from 5, and since I just moved it over one place, I would change my exponent to 6. Okay? Again, the reason I have to change it is because I moved my decimal one spot over. I made this number smaller, so I have to make my exponent bigger in order for them to stay equal. All right, and then now it's scientific notation, and we're all good with that. All right, one more. So we've got a division here. 2.0 times 10 to the 6th divided by 2.5 times 10 to the 2nd. I'm going to write my division like this again. So I'm going to write 2.0. Make sure you guys can see this. Sorry, you can write it down on your paper. I need to move it up so you can see it. I'm going to write 2.0 times 10 to the 6th divided by 2.5 times 10 to the 2nd. Copy those right. Yep. Okay. All right, so with division, we look at our coefficients and we're going to divide those. So let's do that. In my calculator, we got 2.0 divided by 2.5 would make 0.8. See that okay? Scoop it up a little bit. All right, and then with my exponents, again with division, I want to subtract them, so it would be times 10 to the 4th power. Okay, now I look at my answer. I notice something again. I notice this 0.8, not between 1 and 10, so I have to tweak it a little bit, move my decimal over. So if I just move it one spot over, move it this way, then it becomes 8 instead of 0.8, which is between 1 and 10, right? So then if I change that, I have to change my exponent. So this time I made this part bigger. So to compensate for that, I'm going to make my exponent smaller. Okay? Now this is between 1 and 10, and we are all good to go. It is in scientific notation. All right, so in summary, when you are multiplying or dividing numbers in scientific notation, when it's multiplication, you multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. And with division, you divide the coefficients and subtract your exponents. And then you always have to double check. If your first initial number for your answer is not between 1 and 10, if you have to make it smaller to make it between 1 and 10, you make your exponent then bigger. Okay? And if you have to make your coefficient bigger to make it between 1 and 10, then you'll make your exponent smaller. So that just compensates for it. All right, that's it.